Hey y'all, I'm Wilson, and if y'all been watching the videos, I'm probably throwing you for a little bit of a loop, because this is not my shop. This is not my normal video location here. This is a buddy of mine's shop. I do a lot of work for him. I was doing all his drawings, which I'm still doing all his drawings, but he's lost people in the shop, so I've been coming in here and doing a little work too. But anyway, let's get off of that, because what I got today is a couple of vent hoods. I'm at the beginning stages, right at the beginning stages of this little curved vent hood I'm building. So I figured this would be a good time to throw some tips out there for y'all. I got a little curved vent hood I'm building. This is what I got. This is my layout. I do a little loose, what I call a loose layout. I just get my measurement on my height, my width, figure out how tall I want that bottom band. I figure out how tall I want that top band. I figure out how tall I want my cowl, or that's what I call a little curved piece in between the whole hood. That's the cowl. I got a bottom band, a top band, the center cowl that does the curve. But anyway, that's my basic layout right there. I do, like I say, I do a loose layout. I get my height measurements, and that's pretty much about all I'm doing. I drew in a little curve line just to see if I liked it or not. But once I get that, I know what I'm doing. The main thing I got to figure out is my heights, and on my curve, I need to figure out how far I'm coming in at the bottom and how far I'm coming in at the top. As long as I know that, I can work everything else out. But if you're a beginner, if you're new at the hood, you're starting out on them, when you do your layout, do a real thorough layout. Do all your little pieces. You'll know what's going on. I do so many of them that I already know what I'm using, what I'm going to do here and there. But like I say, if you're a beginner, it never hurts to spend a little extra time on the layout so you know exactly what you're doing. But anyway, I'm going to take you up here. I'm not in my shop, but I'm in my big truck, so I pretty much always have my little custom camera stand here. So I'm going to put you up on here, and I hope y'all can hear me. I'm trying to talk loud. I got some fans going on. But like I said, I'm going to try to talk loud. I hope y'all can hear me. Alright, now, what I did was I already went over, I got my layout there. Now I'm going to show you how to do the curve. I figured out my measurement, how far I wanted the curve to come back. I know where it is, where I want it at the bottom. I know how far I want it to come back up at the top. So I'm making me a jig to do my curve. I've got a piece of plywood. This plywood is the height that I want my ribs to be. And when I do this, I'm going to have a 1/2 inch plywood top on there just like this. And I'm going to have a 1/2 inch plywood bottom. You'll see as we go along. I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to get on video, because I got to get them done. But like I say, I do a lot of these curved vent hoods, and it's fun to do videos on them. I like giving out little tips on them, trying to make it easy on everybody else. But anyway, I'm running my damn mouth. Let's get back to it so I can get on out of here. Alright, this is what I do. I've got from here to here, that's how much my curve needs to set back. I put this on here and this on here. That way I can cut my boards, put them on here, and cut my ribs out off of this jig, but we got to get to that point. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing my curve. And you'll notice I've got a line coming down from here. This is the top. That's the top of the vent hood right there. I've got that line coming down. That is a 90-degree line from right there, because no matter what, when I do my curve, I don't want my curve to curve in past that 90 degrees. I don't want it to come in like that, because that makes it look stupid. You want it to follow that 90-degree line down and then make your curve. We're not doing an actual radius. A radius is if you took a circle and then you took a piece out of that circle and transferred that to here. We're not trying to make a perfect circle. We're not trying to make a perfect radius. We're trying to make it look good. So what we need it to do is to come down along this 90-degree line for just a little bit and then make our slight curve. What I'm doing, I've got a piece of 1/4-inch plywood, and I'm going to take it and just bend it. I've got this here and that there to hold it, and I'm going to take it and bend it to draw my curve out. Now, plywood, a lot of times plywood will have voids. You got to watch it. You'll try to make it curve. The voids in it will turn it to where you have flat spots. Plywood is really not the best. If you use actual piece of wood, you know, trim it down small, thin, so it'll bend. Sometimes you can have hard grain in that, and it'll make a flat spot when you try to bend it. About the best thing is a piece of MDF, piece of 1/4-inch MDF. It'll bend great, keep a nice smooth bend, but I don't have a little small piece already cut, so I'm using this 1/4-inch plywood. Just check your piece out and make sure that when you actually do make the bend, it's making a nice bend and it doesn't have any flat spots. I'm going to take, I'm going to come right here and I'm going to follow my line down. Now, if you need to, you can take this hand right here and you can twist it a little back and forth if you need to tweak your curve. Right now, I think I'm going to be good with what I've got, so I'm going to take my pencil. I'm not going to put too much pressure, but I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to draw this out. Alright, and that's my curve. That's going to be, I use the same curve on the front and on the side, so I can make my ribs from this for the whole hood, except for the corners. The corners are going to be different, and if I can, I'll do a video on that. I've done some videos on hoods before. I'm just trying to give a few tips that I might have missed on the last videos. But anyway, that's that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a jigsaw and I'm going to cut this. And I'm going to leave a little extra. I'm going to cut it, leave a little extra. And I'm going to take this. I got a little edge sander over here. It's got a round wheel on the end. I'm going to take it over there and I'm going to sand it to my line and make sure it's nice and smooth. You got to run your hand on it. Make sure you don't have any flat spots, any shit like that. So that's that. But now I got to figure out how many ribs do I need and what I'm going to do with them. So I figure out my top and my bottom. My bottom, I know what I have to figure out what depth I've got to have it, of course, because you got to have enough room for the vent. Figure out your depth and you know your width. I've already got my width laid out. It's 48 inches. So I'm going to cut me a bottom board. I've cut me a bottom board that is the full width and the full depth. Let me push this out the way here. I hope y'all can hear me. Like I say, I'm trying to talk loud. I got fans going. And I noticed I tried a test video and I noticed that this shop is not real good for acoustics. It is hard to hear, so I hope y'all can hear. But anyway, I've got my bottom board. I figured out the size that I needed my bottom board, which is the size I need the bottom of that cowl to be. In this case, it's 48 by 23.5 deep. That's my bottom. Now, for my top board that goes on there, I have to figure out what size to make that. My curve, I'm coming in 10 inches at the top for my curve. So I've got 23.5 for the depth. My top board will make that 10 inches less. I got 13.5. As far as the width goes, I'm 48. I need to take 10 off each side, so I'm 28 with this. And then when you go to lay out your ribs, sorry y'all, the sweat is just pouring down. But anyway, last thing before I get off here, we got the ribs, we got that, we're gonna make the ribs off of that. Now I've got my layout I'm doing. So, lay out your top board first. I don't know how well y'all can see it. I'll kind of take the camera down in a minute and show you. Lay out your corner. Lay you a 45-degree line off the corner, and then 1/2 inch off each side. My rib on the corner is going to be 2 pieces of 1/2 inch plywood sandwiched together. That's my corner rib. So you lay that out first on both corners. The back side, I'm just going to have a regular flat rib on the back side. So lay out your corners. Do the same thing on the bottom board. Lay out your corners. And then I've got to have ribs on the front and ribs on the side. We already know one rib is going to go at the very back. But for the next rib, I want to come as close into this corner as I can. So I get me a loose measurement on how wide I want my ribs to be. This, I'm going 3 inches from this point to there. These ribs, I'm going 2.5. So I've got them spaced off the corner just enough to miss that center rib. And if it misses on the top board, it'll miss it all the way down, so you're good to go. That's one thing you got to look at when you're looking at doing the ribs for the corners. You got to make sure your side ribs miss. And you've got to have it up close, because this board is so much less. Because that rib has got to transfer to your bottom board. So whatever measurement I've got from back there to there, I transfer it to here. I put my mark. Same thing over here. I transfer it to here. Put my mark. I've got my mark. I've got a rib at the back. Now I've got a rib. Let me get it where y'all can see maybe. I got a rib at the back, and I got a rib here. And that puts it coming out that close, coming out that far, puts it pretty much centered. Not exactly centered, but it puts it where you need it to hold the skin that goes on it. All right, then you got to find out your front. So what I do, I find me a center line. Center line on this, center line on this. My ribs on the side here, I transfer that measurement here. So I've got a rib here, and I've got a rib here. And then I just get my measurement in between them, kind of do me a little math there and center these up so I got equal spacing, or pretty much equal spacing. I think the center is about an 1/8 inch wider than the two sides. Not a big deal. But anyway, I've got equal spacing there. So I've got my center line, I've got this rib, I've got this rib, this rib, this rib. So then I can take my bottom board, everything's got to line up. So this is going to be the bottom side of this. It's going to be just like that. So I'm going to take this, and what I'm going to do, I can line my center line up. I don't even have to do any measurements. I can line my center line up, mark my ribs, and I'm good to go. All right, y'all, I'm fixing to get off this video. Let me show you. See if I can get you a little closer, make sure you can see what I got going on. And I got some sunlight coming in here. Somebody talked him into putting clear skylights in. And in the summertime, it's like working in a dadgum greenhouse in here. But anyway, that's the corners. Like I say, 2 pieces of 1/2 inch make my corner ribs. And then my ribs on either side, all my other ribs are 1/2 inch. You don't have to go any thicker than 1/2 inch. 3/4 not going to give you any more help. Not going to make it any more stable. That 1/2 inch is plenty. So we'll have the 1/2 inch half inch, and doubled up half inch, and you can see I done let it move. But if I line my center lines up, then all my ribs line up. That's the thing, your ribs between that top and bottom have got to all line up and be straight. But that's that. My camera's blurring out here on me. There, a little better. Alright, that's that, and this is my curve that I've got done up here. That's that 90-degree line I was showing you. I come down that line so far, and then just let me have a little gradual curve all the way to the end. Now I'm fixing to cut that, and I'm going to take me a router with a straight bit. Once I cut this and sand it, I'm going to use that router with a straight bit to cut my ribs out on this. So that's all I got for right now. That's my first tips, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do any more videos on this thing. I might try to get a couple more, but like I say, I'm in my buddy's shop and I got to get this done. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all watching. All y'all that have subscribed, I really appreciate y'all. Yeah, y'all keep on coming, because I'm going to do some more tips. I got a bunch of vent hoods coming up. I like doing vent hood videos and tips on vent hoods. I do a lot of them. But anyway, let me quit running my damn mouth. I'm going to get on out of here. Y'all, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. I'll see y'all on the next one.